Hi everybody, you all know me. I'm Maria Allwine and my running mate is Ken Idell. We are longtime Green Party activists. I've run for office 3 times before this, and the last time was in '07 when I ran for Baltimore City Council President, and I did get 17% of the vote. I ran a really targeted campaign, a media campaign, and did a lot of campaigning as well while working full-time. And Ken's been an activist for a long time in Frederick, so I don't really want to get into all of the things that that we've done, because it's really not about our past history. The campaign that we're running, the campaign that we're going to bring to the people of Maryland is about fairness. Fairness for working families, fairness for poor people who have been really left out of not only the democratic political process, or at least what's left of it in this country, but who are really being left behind economically, and it's just something that we need to address. The politicians, and this is O'Malley and Ehrlich, a lot of state legislators, they have neither the political will nor the courage to take the steps that they need to take. I'm going to get specific with just a few things so that you all know where we're coming from. I want to start with corporate power. Now, I'm not saying 2 words that all of you don't have very strong feelings about, and I think a lot of people in this state, Republicans, Democrats, people like us, are finally getting is that corporations rule our lives. Too much power. Corporate money has infected our political process to the point where we're not represented anymore. And one of the things that has really enraged me is that the conventional wisdom and a lot of groups keep talking about how income taxes are too high, corporate taxes are too high. Actually, the opposite is true. The problem is that revenue from taxes has fallen significantly decade over decade. In Maryland, there are tax loopholes that 21 other states have closed and that still haven't been closed. The primary one is the combined reporting tax loophole. This is something that needs to be instituted. As governor, I would have the political will and the guts to get out there and say, this can't go on any longer. We're going to pass this year, next legislative session. This is where we need to go. Combined reporting would bring in approximately $100 million to help close a budget gap, projected budget gap of about $2 billion. Which we're looking at year over year. It's not going to get any better. There's some other corporate tax loopholes, the throwback rule, and some other things, passive investment companies that I'm not going to get into here today. But combined reporting would fix all of that. That's one thing. And I think that Marylanders would understand that this is a basic issue of fairness. When you have large corporations that aren't paying the taxes they're supposed to be paying, you have small businesses and individuals shouldering that burden. I'm in favor of a much more progressive tax structure. Now, people like to say we have one, we don't really. And I would institute a system where the wealthy, making over a certain amount, 125 for individuals, 250 for families, would pay more. That's fairness. And that's what we need in an era when state governments are being systematically defunded. We need to have this kind of fairness. I'm going to move on because we have a lot of things to talk about, and although I have a lot more ideas about where we need to go regarding corporate power, I'm going to leave off of that for now. The other thing, BG&E. Now, you know, I've been active on this issue for a long time. Other states that deregulated their utilities and are not happy about it now, have gotten some concessions, big rate concessions from their utilities. How did that happen? It happened with a strong governor and a legislature behind him. And this happened specifically in Illinois, among other states. And all Governor O'Malley and Governor Ehrlich would have had to do was to insist that Constellation Energy be brought to the table and told, this is not the way this is going to go. This is not the way things are going to stand. I've talked to many legislators myself over the last several years and very recently. Most of them understand that this is a catastrophe, that the 10-year experiment deregulation is a failure. They're not quite sure what to do about it. They know they need to do something. Well, here's where you start. You start by bringing BGE to the table. The other thing on energy issues and I wanted to mention this in the corporate part of what I was saying, was we need a state-owned bank modeled on North Dakota's. A state-owned bank would use tax revenues and pension contributions to fund it. It would be owned by the state. It would be able to borrow from the Fed at the same 1% that commercial banks are able to borrow. And it would go a long way, and there's a process that, again, I'm not going to get into, toward moving us towards solar and wind power. And it would make a huge difference in how our energy is generated and distributed. So having a state-run and state-owned bank modeled on the one in North Dakota would be a start toward that. The other thing I want to talk about is single payer, very briefly. Single payer bill has languished for years. Each year it's reintroduced in the General Assembly and doesn't go anywhere. This is the time that we need to do it, because once these exchanges become a reality in 2014, it's going to be very difficult to change it. The only way to guarantee affordable health care for everyone is to have a single payer system, Medicare for all. It's doable. Estimated to save at least $350 million in the first year of implementation alone. The single-payer group is commissioning a new study by the Lewin Group to bring those figures up to date. This is the only thing. Most people are in favor of a single-payer system. The only thing preventing it from happening is political will. We here in Maryland could lead the way. California passed it and Schwarzenegger vetoed it. I wouldn't do that. Obviously, not only would I not veto it, I'd work really hard to champion it and make sure it got through the legislature. They knew I would sign it when it came to my desk. Other issues, very briefly, and then I'm going to, like Ken, because I know I must be almost over. We're obviously in favor of marriage equality for everyone. And we are opposed to any policies that would allow racial profiling of any group for any reason. And we are also opposed, I would never sign a bill, should it come to my desk, that mirrors something like Arizona's dreadful, hateful legislation. So that's all I have to say.